Hello folks, this is Sullla once again. You're listening to another League of Legends video. This time we're going to be taking a look at Aatrox. And as you might notice from this particular replay, this is taken from a game full of Diamond players. There's quite a few big names here. This is Aatrox, is played by hashinshin, who has been sort of a long time high elo player, has streamed for a long time as I understand, and of course there's a bunch of other names that people might recognize in this game. We also have, let's see, Ninjakin playing as Katarina, the Odd One jungling as Elise. This appears to be one of Robert X. Lee's many Smurf accounts, where he's going to be playing as Quinn, and the Rain Man is playing as Sona. Uncharacteristically out of role there. But of course you gotta play, when your last pick you gotta play what's available. On the other team we have Aozaki playing as Tryndamere. We also have Yes, I'm Selen playing as a mid lane Kassadin. We have Chaox playing as Graves. Ben the God supporting as Fiddlesticks. Or no, actually he's jungling as Fiddlesticks, never mind. And this Janna player, Dr. Elo, as a support Janna. Anyway, the main reason for doing this video, in part, I have not been able to use my own footage. The last game I played just bug splats anytime I try to use the replay, so I can't use that. Figured that I would go ahead and use this game, which I use the Spectate Anyone client to go ahead and spectate. If you're wondering how can you get high elo replays, you can spectate games of high elo players using the Spectate Anyone client. And so in this one, we're going to be taking a look at Aatrox, as played by hashinshin. This is the newest champion as I record this video. Of course, if you're watching this later on, apparently TSM Solo Mid Classic in this game, kind of interesting. Another thing that made this game kind of unusual. But anyway, Aatrox is the newest champion, so it gives him a chance to look at him. He has been out for, I guess, a little over a week as I record this video, just about a week. Strengths of Aatrox, well, his kit does have a whole bunch of different features on it. He has a passive where he comes back after he dies. He has a gap closer that can also knock people up. It's also an escape. He has really good sustain in lane. And he also has a range slow, and his ult gives him extra range. He's a melee champion, but he gets extra range when he pops his ult, and extra attack speed. Downsides of Aatrox is because his kit has all this crazy stuff on it, his actual base stats are very low. He actually has pretty low flat numbers. The other thing is, like a lot of other melee champions, he does tend to get wrecked by crowd control pretty easily. He's not that good in team fights. His strengths are more sort of in duels and split pushing. So anyway, we'll look then at some of his strengths and weaknesses as we go along in this match. But what I'll do is we'll be looking at this top lane matchup. It is Aatrox against Tryndamere, which is kind of interesting because both of these are monolith champions who sort of excel at dueling and split pushing. Neither one is particularly all that great in team fights. They both can come back to life after they die, although Tryndamere's is on a much shorter cooldown. So, some interesting stuff. Similar champs in a lot of ways, except Tryndamere is based around critical strike chance, and Aatrox doesn't have anything like that. But anyway, let's go ahead and look. hashinshin was pushing the lane to start. That was to get the experience edge. Note that he's level 2. So, he is going to have the XP edge here early on. Let's look at his skill, shall we? Passive, Bloodwell. This is a passive that a lot of people were not too happy to see. When Aatrox takes fatal damage, he can come back to life. He comes back to life depending on how much blood there is in the blood well. That's the little red bar next to his. You see underneath the health pool, you can see there's the blood pool, and that gets stacked up as he deals damage with abilities. Anyway, Odd One is very low here. Was going sort of for this invade. Let's see, is he going to be able to get out of this one? It's a nice cocoon, but no. Kassadin comes up from mid. It's a nice roam. That's one kill. And now, oh, is hashinshin going to be able to get out? No, he fails the flash. There is the blood well kicking in. It's going to bring him back to life, but not really going to matter. And that's a quick 2-0 in favor of the red team. And you really don't want to give first blood and double buff to Kassadin. So that's going to be a bit of an issue in this lane. Kassadin probably should win mid lane off of that. But anyway, you did get to see the Bloodwell passive in action there. Again, how does this get stacked up? Anytime Aatrox uses an ability that costs health, he stores up stores the self-inflicted damage in the Bloodwell. One thing that a lot of people don't know is the Bloodwell doesn't just bring you back when you die. The Bloodwell also does give you extra attack speed. 1% attack speed for every 2% in the Bloodwell. So at max Bloodwell, you will get 50% attack speed, and that's a pretty big deal. That's something that I haven't seen many people recognizing when it comes to Aatrox, is that you really want to keep that Bloodwell full, not just so you come back to life, but so you get that passive attack speed. And I think a lot of people are not all that aware of this. Anyway, though, Aozaki's ahead because he was able to keep farming this lane. He also got 2 assists, and he's going to bully hashinshin out of lane right there. So you see that in operation. We also have a Fiddlesticks gank getting set up. We'll keep an eye on this. Here comes Ben the God, but hashinshin will jump out. So let's look at that skill, shall we? We'll go ahead and highlight the Aatrox Q here. Dark Flight costs 10% of current health. Aatrox takes flight and slams down at a target location. Deals physical damage. He also knocks up targets in the center of the impact for 1 second. So, as with all melee champions these days that come out, Aatrox has a gap closer. This is his gap closer. It's also his escape. You only need 1 point in this skill. It's an easy way to jump in or out of trouble. And the people that are dead center of where you target with the Q, they will get knocked up in the air. And yes, this will interrupt channels like a Karthus ult and, well, a teleport or so on and so forth. Other stuff, let's highlight his W. His W is probably sort of his bread and butter skill. This is sort of his key skill and what really will separate a good, separate a good Aatrox player from a sort of a bad one. This is a toggle skill, no cost to use, Bloodthirst, Blood Price. While toggle, you turn this back and forth on and off. The Bloodthirst, every 3rd attack, Aatrox restores health, and this increases massively. It gets tripled when he gets low. They actually have a pretty nice fight here coming in, so that's actually going to be a death on both sides right there. Aozaki and hashinshin killing one another. So while they're both dead, we'll go ahead and continue to take a look at this skill. There's also quite a bit of action going on in bottom lane. Key thing that happened was, yes, I'm Sullen disconnected, and that really ended up hurting red team here because they lost all kinds of pressure in the mid lane, and that set up a lot of plays here in bottom lane. So anyway, well, we'll keep an eye on this, keep an eye on the bottom lane as I continue to highlight this skill so you can watch what's going on. Again, the Bloodthirst is every 3rd attack, Aatrox gets life back, and it gets tripled when he gets low, when he gets below 50% health. So this is where he gets his sustain from, as you watch this Fiddlesticks gank hardly getting turned around here in bottom lane. Again, this is on a toggle on-off switch, so you can also toggle the Bloodthirst over to Blood Price. What that does is every 3rd attack, you deal bonus physical damage, and it costs health. So in order to play Aatrox correctly, what you have to do is you have to swap back and forth between these 2 skills constantly. You're either sustaining yourself or you are dealing the bonus physical damage, and you need to swap that back and forth quite a bit. And again, that's sort of the key to playing Aatrox well, because Aatrox is actually pretty squishy as a champ. He doesn't get that much in the way of tanking stats. As I said, his base stats are quite low. Now, he makes up for this by having insane sustain. I mean, he sustains better than just about anyone, and of course, he's monolith. These skills are just on cooldowns. They do either on cooldowns and health cost associated with them. So anyway, we can watch right here. Let's see which one he's using. Right now, he's using the Bloodthirst to go ahead and heal up. Wait. Well, he switches so fast, it's hard for me to see. Okay, so when it's pointing down, it's the Bloodthirst where you're healing yourself. When it's pointing up, it's the Blood Price and you're dealing bonus damage, is what it looks like. So just keep an eye on how his health bar jumps back up to full pretty quickly. Anyway, while we're watching this, let's go ahead and highlight the other skills. E, Blade of Torment, costs 5% of current health, not max health, current health, which is why Aatrox can be deceptively difficult to kill when he gets low, much like sort of Olaf. Anyway, unleashes the power of his blade, deals magic damage to all enemies, and slows them over a period of time. This is in sort of a cone, and it gets narrower as you shoot this out. This is his only range skill. His Q is a gap closer. I guess his Q is a range skill too, but it's a bit of a gap closer. So you shoot this out, it's his only form of range stress. This is magic damage. Most of his other skills are physical damage. He has Q's physical damage, his W is of course physical damage. So this is his only source of magic damage. And let's see, probably we'll use this. See if hashinshin uses it. Yep, there it is. There's the W. So this is the second skill you max. 1 point in Q is all you need. Can max E second, not because it's so great, but just there's not really any point in maxing Q sooner. Let's see if anything's going to happen here. Aozaki's going to pop his ghost. Let's see if he's going to be able to run this down. But nope, the Katarina jukes, runs backward. There's a nice cocoon from Odd One coming out. Ben the God's going to try to use his lifesteal. There is the jump over the wall by hashinshin. He's going to pick up one skill. Now he's going after Aozaki. He's popped his ult. We'll highlight the ult in a minute. Tryndamere is running his Undying Rage, but as soon as it runs out, that's not going to be enough. And hashinshin will pick up the double kill there. And that's going to be a pretty big factor in snowballing this lane. Up to this point in time, he's been a little bit behind in top lane, but this is going to snowball the lane in favor of hashinshin, getting that double kill and getting the blue buff. And watch how he's sustaining back up again with the Bloodthirst. Just so you can see, the ultimate is the not particularly creatively titled Massacre. Aatrox draws in the blood of his foes. He immediately deals magic damage to everyone around him, although it's pretty low. You're not really going to use this for the magic damage. But the key thing is he gains attack speed and gains attack range for 12 seconds. So he gains 175 attack range. Starts out as melee. Where's the attack range on here? I know it's okay. 150, pretty standard for melee champs. Most melee champs are, I believe most melee champs are 150. Either 125 or 150. So when he pops his ult, he gains 175, and he becomes sort of like almost a ranged champ, sort of like halfway between a melee and a ranged champ. And of course, he also gets attack speed. So let's talk just briefly about what you want to itemize when you're running Aatrox. Probably the two most important stats on him are attack speed, very, very important on him. His whole kit is based around auto attacking. Attack speed, and then probably lifesteal is his other sort of key stat, is because his skills cost health, you want to stack up, you want to stack up that blood well, you need some way of sustaining yourself, so you build some mixture of attack speed and some mixture of lifesteal. Seems to be kind of the main things. So if you'll notice what item hashinshin's going for here, now I am not particularly familiar with how people build Aatrox, but he's building a Bilgewater Cutlass, and he's clearly building towards Blade of the Ruin King, and that seems like it would be a very good item on Aatrox. Very good at dueling, increases his attack speed, and by the way, note again how much attack speed he's got here, 1.23. A lot of that is coming from his passive. He's got a full 50% bonus attack speed just from the Blood Well, so that's pretty significant. Again, Aatrox is very dependent on auto-attacking as a champion. He does not rely on his skills to deal damage. This is a crucial point about Aatrox. His Q, you don't use the Q to do damage, it's just to gap close to knock people in the air. You don't use the E to deal damage either. I mean, yeah, the cooldown's a little too long for that. I mean, where do you get your damage from? You get your damage from your W, and you see a nice little duel here. hashinshin has popped his ult. There is the knockup onto Aozaki. Aozaki's popped his Undying Rage, so Aozaki's going to come back to life, hashinshin's going to come back to life, and the net result is neither side ends up dying, even though they both got reduced to 0 health during that fight. Interesting little exchange there. So again, as Aatrox, where your damage comes from is it's attacking and using your E, using your W, swapping back and forth between the Bloodthirst and the Blood Price. This is what you have to be able to use this toggle correctly to output his max damage. And again, you're going to need a lot of attack speed because his damage comes from auto attacks. Now again, the trade-off is he's very susceptible to crowd control. Think of him as being a little bit like AD Scion, or anyone who's played AD Scion before. AD Scion gets all this damage, he deals, tons of damage. He gets all this lifesteal, but if you can use crowd control on him, he's not very effective. And that's the same thing for Aatrox as well. Because so much of his damage comes from his auto attacks and not his skills, he's very susceptible to being hit with crowd control. Very, very susceptible to that. So I know the standard mantra for any champion, all champions are weak when they're CC'd, when they're crowd controlled. Yes, we know that. But Aatrox is particularly susceptible to crowd control because he relies on his auto attacks to deal damage. Anyway, these two are exchanging some trades back and forth, but they both have very good sustain. And hashinshin's winning this lane, but, it's unlikely he's going to be able to straight up kill Aozaki, whose ult is almost back up, by the way. That little trade there before was better for Aozaki because the cooldown on the Bloodwell revive passive is much longer than the cooldown on Tryndamere ult, which is only 110 seconds, whereas the Bloodwell takes 5 minutes before it comes back up. So anyway, that said, this tower is starting to get low, and it looks like hashinshin might just get this tower pretty soon. Aatrox is not a bad split pusher. I wouldn't say he's necessarily the best in the game, but he's pretty solid at split pushing. Split pushing and dueling, as I said, is really what he excels at. And he also does really well against a low crowd control team. If the other team is running Malphite, Amumu, Leona, etc., it's not a good team to run Aatrox against. So it looks like this tower is going to get low and is probably going to go down soon, as you can see fighting continuing elsewhere on the map. Anyway, the reason why I'm not focusing elsewhere is this video is intended to focus on Aatrox and highlight his mechanics. focus on what's going on. In the rest of the map, this game has snowballed really strongly in favor of the blue team, and it's largely snowballing off of that Kassadin disconnect, and then a nice play that blue team made in bottom lane where they got a couple kills behind the tower. So hashinshin is going to get this tower, and it looks like he is going to continue to snowball ahead in this top lane. If you look at the gold, 5,400 against about 4,100 on the gold there, and down goes the tower. Again, a lot of that is global gold because blue team has 3 towers down and they took dragon, but I would say that this top lane matchup flipped when hashinshin got the double kill. I'd say, what was that, about 5 minutes ago. So let's go ahead and look at what he's gone and picked up here. There is the Blade of the Ruined King, as I said, an item that works. I mean, again, I actually have never played Aatrox for even one game, but seems like this would be a very good item on him. Attack damage, attack speed, lifesteal. You get the unique passive where basic attacks deal 5% bonus physical damage. And again, Aatrox auto attacks a lot, so going to be getting that passive. And of course the active that's great for dueling, where you steal part of their health, heals for the same, and steals their movement speed, so makes sense. What else do we have here is picked up the Ninja Tabi for use. I'm sure that that's just for use against Tryndamere. Obviously you might want Merc Treads against a high crowd control team, etc, etc. Maxing the W first, and let's see if you can highlight. So what is this? Every third attack restores 55 health, and then that gets tripled when below half health. And the blood price, every third attack deals, what, about 250 bonus physical damage. Aatrox does scale off of physical damage, not magical. So don't build AP on him. Anyway, a little bit of a duel here, but we know hashinshin's going to jump over the wall. Again, note how low he got. He did get quite low, as I said. The actual defensive stats are pretty low on Aatrox, but the advantage is he's sustained. So watch how quickly he's going to be able to sustain. Look at how fast his life bar is going up when he's using the Bloodthirst. So if you can sit there and lifesteal off a neutral camp, yeah, like, look how fast he gets back up to full health again. So remember, I said comparison to AD Scion, very similar in a lot of ways, but of course better than, just a better overall kit than AD Scion. Scion's going to get reworked soon anyway, so we'll see. A little bit of a team fight going on here. Again, Odd One getting focused, but Elise has many ways to escape. There's a jump over the wall with the Q. Does not hit anyone, did not knock anybody up in the air. Again, hashinshin is lifestealing again, so Aatrox, very dependent on being able to lifesteal off of creeps, that sort of thing. So you're going to hang out over here, and what's he going to do? Again, lifestealing off the wolves. Lifesteal back over 100 health just in 3 auto attacks there. And now he's back up to full again. So that's one reason why people get irritated by this particular champion. He's really strong in lane, but the trade-off, I've said this a couple times in this video, not too strong in an actual team fight. Not too strong overall. Is that Bloodwell back up? Yes, Bloodwell is back up, so can be very aggressive about diving in this fight. Let's see if they choose to go in here and have a team fight. Keep an eye on this. That tower is getting quite low. The cocoon is going to hit. Is this a signal to go in? Yes, there's a jump in. Doesn't get the knock up, though, onto Fiddlesticks. The Q is a little bit difficult to get the knock up on Aatrox because the actual targeted area on his Dark Flight is a little bit low. And the pings are coming out for Baron. We'll see if that's what they are going to do. Katarina going to jump to the ward. Tryndamere goes over the wall, but doesn't look like he's going to follow. With Blade of the Ruined King and this much attack speed, Aatrox should be pretty good at doing Baron. Keep an eye on Baron life. Yeah, look, the Baron's life is going down pretty fast. Also have Quinn and Elise dealing damage to Baron here as well. And it doesn't look like the other team is too aware of that. Wow, that's a really good Sona ult by the Rain Man, by the way. Just completely stopped that initiation. And is the Baron going to go down? Let's see, it's very low. Yep, there is the Baron. And now red team is chasing, and oh, this is not what they want. Robert's heading in with Quinn. You don't get to see, I guess, with Valor, because he's popped the Quinn ultimate. Going to jump in there, and that's going to be a kill on the Kassadin. Now the chase is on. Volts on the Chaox. Chaox is not going to be able to escape this. Very nice barrier usage, but it's just not enough. And looks like this middle tower and this middle inhib is going to go down, and going to go down pretty soon. Again, note how much attack speed hashinshin has here. He's got 1.7 with that Bloodwell fully stacked up. So yeah, lot of attack speed. Key stat, looks like the key stat for Aatrox. Again, admittedly, my limited experience with Aatrox. So if you see Aatrox on the other side, you can try to play a champion that has some kind of attack speed debuff. I don't know, Malphite seems like he would do pretty well against this guy, just as sort of an initial way of looking at it. Someone who has a lot of armor and is good at shutting down auto attackers. Nasus would not be too bad either. I don't know if you'd want to play against him in lane, but a Nasus jungle would do a pretty good job at shutting down Aatrox with that 90% attack speed slow, or whatever it is that Wither has. Alright, anyway, Dragon going down, and you can see the game has really snowballed at this point. 16-5, it's about 13,000 global gold. It is 6-0 in towers. And this game looks like it is effectively just about over, just waiting for some kind of 20-minute surrender to come in. Let's keep an eye on what a hashinshin decides to pick up here. If he goes back to buy, looks like he's going to pick up the red buff. Note again the skilling order. W first, this is where your sustain comes from. This is your main source of damage. E second, not because E is all that great, but just because it gives you a way to wave clear if you're split pushing, and frankly it's better than Q. 1 point in Q is all that you need, and of course max your ult whenever it's available, anytime that you can get that. Note the interesting choice here, the Zephyr, attack damage, attack speed, movement speed, tenacity, a bit of an unusual choice, but I could see that working. Would be useful against the Fiddlesticks on this team. But anyway, it's 20 minutes, there's the surrender, this game's over, Fiddles ults nothing, and that's going to be it for this particular game. So there we go, Nexus goes down, and that's going to be it for this one. Anyway, so short game, not too much to see here in terms of competitiveness. I wanted to use this one just because I wanted a chance to put up a little bit about Aatrox as played by someone who is, you know, a much better player than me, or someone who's likely to appear in one of my custom games. But I hope you enjoyed getting a chance just to see this champion, a look at some of his strengths and weaknesses, and whether you want to play Aatrox or play against him, have an idea of what to expect. So anyway, once again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, have a great week. See you guys later.